freaking first cut. Golly. Yes, welcome in. This is the First Cut Podcast. I'm Rick Gehman, and today we are mailbagging. We're taking your questions. We're giving the answers. We're having the discussions. And joining me to do all that, Mark Immelman is here. Hello, Mark.
Hey, pardon me while I try and center myself on the shot. I'm not as cool as Patrick. You can kind of give it the Brandel Chambly, you know. I'm looking at you straight on. How are you boys?
Good. Yes, Patrick is in I'm assuming a fancy dancy swivel chair, so he can give us the swivel without hurting his back and trying to contort himself. Hello, Patrick.
Very fancy chair, not a very comfortable chair. I will be the first to admit, something I need to invest in this offseason. But I'm excited about the mailbag. A little PTSD when Josh threw out the tweet, given my time at the USPS. Many people forget. I was there for 2 years trying to save the postal system of the United States of America. Jury's still out if I did or not, but I'm excited to get into it.
It's still up and running, Patrick. So I think you have done a very good job. USPS still delivering those letters, those postcards, everything that we need. Well, we're gonna get to the mailbag, but a little bit of news coming out today. I believe this was today. I don't even know what day it is, Patrick, but we're going to assume it was today because the PGA Tour has sent its members a 23-page proposal on some changes that could occur in 2026. I will warn, these still need to be voted on. Correct, Patrick? That will happen in the next few weeks. But the main points of this are field sizes and membership structure, how those essentially relate to one another. What are we hearing out of the tour right now?
Yeah, so I guess technically it might have been yesterday for you, Rick. Today for Mark and I, if my time
I'm
zones.
in the future. Yeah.
Yes.
Have you got lottery numbers for me, bro? Can you help me there, Rick?
Yes, I've got lottery numbers. I've got winning bets. I know who's going to win sporting contests. Yes, I'll send it all your way.
So you pretty much touched on the big ones, right? As it currently stands, the top 125 on the PGA Tour get full-time exempt. That's going to be cut to the top 100. The conditional lane that is currently 126 to 150, that'll be 101 to 125, but those from 101 to 110, I believe, are in a different priority ranking than those from 111 to 125. So that's a little bit different. Also, the field sizes are all pretty much getting chopped. So instead of 156 for being the max for an open field event, it's going to be 144. The only one that hasn't changed is the American Express. That's going to stay at 156, 3-course rotation. Torrey Pines will also be 144, but for one course, so think, I don't know, Palm Beach, Honda Classic, for those, it's going to be 120 before daylight savings. So we have time zones and daylight savings we have to contend with. And then once daylight savings hits, but it's before the Masters, so the Valspar, Houston, Texas Open, 132, and then the rest of the regular season post Masters will be 144. So that's kind of the biggie. They changed some of the FedEx Cup points too. It won't be as big of an advantage for signature events. I believe they give more points to the runner-up finisher as well. Took some away from those outside the top 10. I'm probably missing a few things as well.
Listen, I think the main takeaways here, Mark, I think there's kind of two things. Reducing field sizes and membership cards. Corn Ferry cards are going to go from 30 to 20. That's the one you're probably thinking of there, Patrick.
Yep.
I think the goal, again, I don't know what the goals are, but I assume the goals are kind of twofold. One, we need to be able to finish these rounds. There are a lot of rounds that are occurring where there's 12 or 15 golfers that have to come back and finish their rounds the next morning. And the other thing is the trend that we've been seeing for almost the more exclusivity of the PGA Tour, right? Chop the number of cards. In theory, that trickles down into better fields, even if they are smaller. You might get some more competitive turnover rates. So I think those are Patrick did a great job outlining the changes, the causes. The effects might be these two things.
Yeah, and the effects are going to be a few disgruntled people if this goes through. Your point, we have to reiterate that this will be voted on at, I believe, the RSM Classic, correct, this year, Patrick?
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, so here's the thing. When I saw this, because this was news to me. I mean, when I went through the rundown just before the show, thankfully I did, because ordinarily I don't. I went and looked at Patrick's. I like to be caught unawares, Patrick. I went and looked at Patrick's very well crafted, very easy to understand article, and the first thing that jumped to my mind was, this has been sort of brewing around the place for a while now on the tour. If you were on driving ranges on the golf course, some of the powerful voices were floating these ideas a ways back. And it's sort of began to gain traction. And of course, with certain folks on the advisory committee and all those sorts of things now, the powerful voices have the ears of these individuals. So that stuff starts to grow legs and a bit of a taproot. Now it's coming to fruition. There are going to be some aggravated people, especially the membership, because suddenly going, look, in the playoffs, I can understand you go from 125 to 70, because you can still have your 50 PGA Tour members, and you got some time in the fall to keep your card, because that's a big deal to have a job like that. But all of a sudden, you're looking at PGA Tour members, some of them who may have been members for a long while. They sort of languish around that 90 to about 110, 115 range. They're going to be like, holy smoke, now I might be out of a job. So you're going to have to deal with that sort of stuff. So I'm keen to see how the vote goes. But this has been going on for a while. And then to your observation about field sizes, this has been a complaint for the longest time. Because when the first thing you hear about the PGA Tour, if you're hearing problems, they're like, well, we want to see the best fields together. That's what social media cries about all the time. Then the next thing, if you switch on X or Insta or whatever the case might be, they're all like, the pace of play is disastrous. We need to speed these guys up. But the reality is, because I'm out there and I'm with the rules officials all the time, with big fields on difficult golf courses, it's a recipe for stuff slowing down. And then to your point about daylight savings, I can't tell you how many times Thursday, Friday afternoon, we're not getting done until the cut. And then over the weekend, then you'll finally get done at TV a lot of time. So, and that throws an entirely different wrinkle into the broadcast stuff if it goes beyond time on the weekends. So the pace of play had to be dealt with. This was a natural development along those lines. But I got to say, I'm key. I would like to be a fly on the wall in the meeting during the vote to see how it does, because you're going to have some folks we've been lobbying for this. You're going to have some folks like, this is unfair. And then you're going to have one or two stars that have a badish year that all of a sudden are outside of a card. And if they don't have like a win exemption or a major championship exemption, all of a sudden they're Corn Ferry Tour members. And then to that, KFT cards from 30 down to 20. That's a big deal as well there. So this is a lot to digest. And I feel like there's a lot of text chains going on right about now as the news is trickling out between PGA Tour players and the like.
Indeed, and Patrick, we'll have you put a bow on this before we get to the mailbag here. But I think what Mark just laid out is the unenviable position of the PGA Tour being a member-run organization. Mark just listed out all of the shareholders in this. You've got superstars, who, top 10 players in the world. You've got stars. You've got guys that are on the border of that 100 or 125 or whatever number. You've got guys who are coming from the Corn Ferry. You've got guys that have status and have had status for a while that are not getting into fields. You've got Corn Ferry Tour graduates that can't find a way into a field because it's so competitive. You've got broadcasting issues because of the length of time that these rounds are taking. You've got venues that have to extend extra days with, I mean, there are just like, these decisions have ripple effects, and you cannot possibly make everybody happy. I don't know if this is the solution, but it is going to create, as Mark said, a lot of text chains, a lot of conversations, a lot of how is this going to impact me and my livelihood?
I think it's a good first step. I mean, it took months for the PGA Tour in 2024 to have the 36-hole cut in a full field event on Friday evening.
Yeah.
The pace of play and the daylight savings was abysmal. And like Mark alluded to, people on social media think it's as easy as just tell these guys to play faster, when in reality, it is not that easy at all. And so I think it's a good first step towards that. I know you go back to the Arnold Palmer Invitational, I believe it was, where Rory McIlroy said he wanted it to be a bit more cutthroat. Wyndham Clark was in the same camp as well. Some people didn't like Wyndham Clark's comments, considering he wasn't always a top 100 guy. That's kind of a recent development. And so I kind of lean with the Rory McIlroy camp, where some of these guys who have gotten into the fields, the older, out of their prime type players, into their later 40s, mid 40s type, you kind of wonder when you're looking at the field list, it's like, how is someone like him in the field and not one of these young guys? And so hopefully this helps that with the priority ranking switch up. And so I think it's a good first step. I don't like them going from 30 cards to 20 cards for the Korn Ferry Tour. I wish that didn't happen, but I understand, like you mentioned, Rick, the amount of mouths that they have to feed. They kind of had to take a little bit off that plate.
Patrick, you just got me thinking as well, because I was privy to, or at least I saw, a spat there on X a few days ago where someone was complaining about sponsor exemptions and how it's ludicrous that X is in the field, or whoever it might be. And X is not Xander in this case. This is one or other player that's a sponsor's exemption. Because when you start to reduce the field sizes, and then there's still 4 sponsors exemptions, which I don't feel like will go away, then all of a sudden you've got a smaller field, and so it's not really 120, it might just be 116 kind of thing. So this is a big deal. And the more I think about it, the more I'm like, well, they are supposed to be the best of the very best. And like Rory said to someone in a player meeting the one time, just play better. That's kind of what it is. Not everyone can be in the NFL, or not everyone can be in the NBA, or whatever the case might be. So this, I think, is development along your lines, and you're convincing me as such. But still, this is going to be a tough pill for some folks to swallow if it does pass.
Yeah,
we'll find out in 2 weeks. And again, these changes would take place in 2026, obviously, because we're kind of already in the midst of rankings and priority for 2025. So this is for 2026. Okay. We're going to put a pin in that conversation. We are going to switch over to your questions, but first we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our partners.
At CBS Sports Golazo Network, we're bringing you the game.
The madness of Messi arrives!
Breaking down the game.
This is unlike anything else in the world.
And changing the game.
Get it all for nil.
That means free.
Whoa.
And all day long!
24/7.
And we're back with the mailbag, with your questions. And gentlemen, we often talk a lot about the professional game, but Hugo wants to know about our own game, specifically what's currently in the bag. Let's start with iron sets. Mark, I think I saw you out swinging the sticks.
Yeah, Mark, I saw that too.
What are you gaming right now?
My golf swing looked like a forward press and a follow through. Did you see that, lot?
Nice and compact.
Compact. I'm like immobile 54-year-old. Here's the state of my game. When I saw this question, I'm like, I got to go and check what I've actually got in my bag. So I did bring an iron. I know I've got a ping driver with a Tensei shaft, which was built with me, which I love. Here is how I'm dating myself. This is a set of Nike Victory Red irons. Okay.
Wow.
So potential sponsors, I'm available. I got KBS shafts in here, which I've always liked, and then I love these Align grips. You know, the ones with the rib on the bottom here. It's half cord. It's a couple wraps underneath, so I've got longer fingers, so I can get a good hold on it. But I love the alignment band on the bottom of it. I've got those through the bag. So Nike irons. I'm using. I'm dating myself now. It's not persimmon, although I got some of my old persimmon woods right over here in my office. I've got a TaylorMade slider 5-wood. Okay, yeah, that's way back in the day. Which this thing, I can cash checks with that thing. It's not going anywhere. Probably my favorite club in the bag right now is this new Lab putter I've got. This thing, golly, man, it almost putts for itself. It's it's
the big one?
No, not the big one. It's regular length. It's kind of the original design. It's called a M.
Is there something that Mez?
Yeah, Mez. That's the one. Yeah, I love this thing. I've got it in black. They built my daughter Izzy one in pink, which is very sweet as well. But so I would say that's my favorite club. I love the way the thing sits on the ground. It's so well weighted. There's no torque to it. And the way the shaft sits naturally creates a little shaft lean. And they fit the grip on there, so it's kind of off center. So your hands feel normal in the middle of you, but the shaft's tilted a little forward. So loving that thing. There you go. Look at that. That's me. But mine's got a black shaft because I want it all black, like what I wear on Sunday.
Wow. Okay, I will tell you, friends of the pod, Joe Musso just picked up this putter as well. And
I know he texted me about it. He goes, "What's that thing like?" I'm like, "Dude, you got to get one. You have to get one."
And he did. So I'm a jailbird guy, but these have my attention in a big way.
Jailbird, you're such a social media watcher. So Ricky puts well and he wins, then Wyndham wins, and then all of a sudden they run out of jailbirds all over the show.
Yeah, exactly. And that thing has been great for me. Patrick is what are you clattering over there? What are you bringing into?
I'm bringing the bag. I just got it from the next room over. Figured it's show and tell. I do have a development to share. It's great to see that Musso is part of the Lab family, Mark as well, and his daughter. Lab reached out to me last week, and they're actually sending me the DF3 model that's supposed to be coming on Friday.
Whoa!
Which I'm quite letting anybody in here. I mean, what?
Which I'm quite excited.
There goes the neighborhood.
Let's keep reaching out here, guys. Let's extend the family a little bit.
I'm currently using the double wide Odyssey stroke Lab.
Lab is such an upgrade, bro. It's going to be like night and day for you.
Oh, I can't wait. Yeah, I'm pretty pumped up about that because putting is definitely my weakness. Driver and 3-wood King F9 Cobras. I got the hazardous smoke shaft on those.
Wow.
You want to talk throwback, Mark? My 3 hybrid, my Pearl Adams V3 Idea Tech. Just
good for you guys.
I mean, this is just beautiful. Look at that. Favorite club in the back, probably.
Okay, Rick, stand by. I'm going to grab something that's going to blow your socks off.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, we'll go through the irons now. I go 4 through pitching wedge, Mizuno MP59s.
Yeah.
Also with the KBS Tours, like Mark, and then wedges. Bit of a psychopath move, perhaps. I go 50, 55, 60.
Wow.
Nice distance between them. SM7 Vokies. Different grind on all of them. Also psychopath move. But yeah. That's right now.
I didn't talk about my wedges, Rick. I'm sort of old school. I've got a 60 and I've got a 56. No gap wedge, but I have a weak wedge. So my wedge is sort of old school. It's almost like about 49 degrees. So there's a bit of a gap between my 9-iron and my wedge, but I don't hit the thing very hard. So we're good to go there. But check this out. Let me find the camera.
Other way. There you go.
Wow.
Look at this. Look at this beauty.
That's pretty.
Oh,
isn't it?
That is pretty.
So that is Mark, show us the club face there because it's got the screws in it, right? Yeah. Okay. So that, for those of you who don't know, That's where the saying "hitting it on the screws" comes from.
I actually laughed that you had to point that out to people, but you're right.
Yeah,
Yeah, when
I
you
mean,
hit one in the screws, yeah.
Huh.
yeah, you hit it, you flush it, you hit it right in the center, you hit it on the screws. Well, there is an entire generation of us that have never played with a club with screws in the face, and that is where the saying comes
Mark,
from.
you getting 190 ball speed off that puppy?
Maybe 90. I got one more. Stand by.
Mhm.
It's so this one, to get like a blonde, they call it a blondish driver or wood-looking driver. My favorite though was a black Tony Penner. I'm hoping I got it over here. So vamp for me for a second.
Yeah, go take a look. Well, I'll tell you, so my clubs are packed. They're right next to me, but they're already in the travel case, so I'm not going to unpack them. But I'm a Mizuno boy as well, so I'm playing the 225s. I have the LA Golf shafts, which are incredibly expensive, but also incredibly amazing. They've been cured. Have you heard of this, Patrick? Where they
No.
take the shaft, they spin it around at like 1,000,000 RPMs or whatever. They find every single shaft naturally has a hard side, and they put that on the bottom, so it flexes. It flexes exactly perfect on itself when it records.
Wow.
It's pretty interesting. Yeah. Then I'm using the Ping. I think I'm at the 425 driver, which is like the most forgiving driver I've ever used. My oldest club in the bag is my 3-wood is still that TaylorMade R1, which is like at this point, that's like a 13-year-old 3-wood.
R1
or R11, maybe it's an R11, but it's like 13.
With the red bottom,
the
red weight.
Yeah.
Hey, R9
sweet.
was electric when that came out.
Yeah.
I don't have my black Tony Penner, but I giggled while I was looking through this bag because all these old drivers of mine, I've got 5-wood, modern day 5-wood head covers on them. If that shows you how small the heads were back in the day. Seriously. Yeah. I gave one to Izzy to hit, and she goes, "This was a driver?" I'm like, "Yeah." She goes, "It looks like a 5-wood." I'm like, "Yeah."
Yeah, exactly. That's good. And then I only do the Golf Pride MCCs for the grips. I'm using the Costco Signature, the Kirkland Sig wedges. Although I only carry 13 clubs, so I've got a spot open, which I'm trying to figure out what to do with that. But
a second putter from Lab.
There you go, Lab. Come on, my email. Reach out.
What golf balls are you guys using?
I used the Vice Pro Plus for a long time, and now I'm using the Pro V1 X's. I get the high number 76 so that I can easily identify it. Little RG on the side, and that's what I play.
Okay.
I don't have personalized golf balls. I just use the Bridgestone RXS.
Yeah, you're a Bridgestone guy. What are you playing, Patrick?
Well, after I got reamed out by Greg when I told him last time we did this that I just use whatever's in the bag, and he looked at me completely disgusted, I changed my ways. I'm using the Chrome Tour X Callaway.
Oh, how do you like that?
They're good. I think I'm a good player, but when it comes to different golf balls, all I can really tell is a spin.
Mm-hmm.
People are like, "Oh, the feel around the green so much better. It's better on the club face." I'm like, that's fantastic that you can figure that out, because personally, I'm hit it and hope type of guy. So Chrome Tour X, I know what it does, which is good, and I use the American flag one because I'm patriotic.
Heck yeah! Come on now.
The last thing, is there anything special in the bag? Anything a little? So what I do is I've got about 4 or 5 different coins in my bag from various countries. They're all my birth year. Okay. So then at the beginning of a round, I just reach in and at random grab one. And that's what I use for my ball mark for that day. And I get to say, oh, it's Italy. That's fun. I remember my times at, whatever. And that's my fun little thing that I do.
I always, when I played competitively, used to I'd have 6 tees in my pocket. 2 blue, 2 white, 2 orange. They were the colors of the old South African flag. But then when the flag changed, that went away because there's just about every color in the spectrum on that flag now. I like to use wooden tees. But here of late, a guy called John Millman from Golf Life Metals got me into ball markers. And he made a few for me, and he hand makes these things. And they're very, very cool, where to me, he's made me like an on the mark ball marker and stuff like that. So I've got a selection of ball markers, but I came upon these the other day. Have you guys seen this thing? It's made by On Point. So this is a ball marker, right? So you see it looks like a segment of a golf ball.
Yeah. So Mark, so for those who are just listening, hold that up for us. It is basically like a third of a golf ball. So it's got dimples on it, and it's got an alignment aid, and it's black and white. So again, probably used to design to put down and line it up.
Yeah. And the cool thing about this is, look, you got another metallic marker that clips into it. But, for folks who line up the ball, and I'm an advocate of that as a teacher, to use a line on your golf ball. It's kind of like legalized cheating, to be honest with you. So when you mark your ball and you set this down, instead of like a coin or a poker chip or whatever, you point the line to the hole. When I was talking to the designer of this thing, Briston Peterson, he used an architectural term called spatial something. I can't remember what it is. But the fact that this is raised somewhat off the ground and looks like a golf ball, it helps you to kind of just pick the line a whole lot better. So I set it down. If no one's in the way, I set my line on my golf ball, and off I go. This thing has been very, very cool. And this one, they call it the Oreo because of the color of it. Yeah, and I've got one of these in my bag, and this one sort of stays handy if I just go somewhere and I'm giving a golf lesson, because it's so easy to see the line with it.
That is interesting. The way it's raised up would make it easier to line. Okay, Patrick, anything special in the bag?
No. Like Mark, wooden tees, got it. I hate plastic tees, just can't do them. And then whatever loose change is floating around. It's been a state of Tennessee quarter lately, but whatever's in the bag.
Kind of guy, just whatever you got.
How long did it take you to acquire these coins from all these various countries with your exact birth year on it?
I actually got really lucky here. So the first coin I got here was in 1988. The first one I did not even have to go looking for it. I don't know, not that long. You just start looking and you find it pretty quickly.
You make me laugh, because
you might just have a good year for coinage.
Yeah, if I had to try and find my 1970s, those things are basically out of circulation, aren't they? 88.
Yeah, those have been out of circulation. All right, cool. Well, that was fun. I promise we will not spend 20 minutes on the rest of these questions, but when we get deep onto the what's in our bags, we don't get to do it often. We're going to continue this. We've got course conversation. There's Ryder Cup questions. There is bounce back candidates. We're going to get into much more, but first we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our partners.
CBS Sports HQ, giving you college football coverage unlike anyone else.
We're talking Big Ten.
Pre- and post-game coverage.
Are you encouraged with the way that this team responded?
Along with breaking news.
A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
Highlights and expert analysis.
That streak could be in jeopardy here.
Sure. What was your main takeaway from this game? How impressive was his domination?
That really changed the football game.
Let's go ahead and have some more fun.
Another wild ending.
The chaos continues.
Turn to CBS Sports HQ.
And we're back. Okay, there's a couple of course questions I'm going to lump together here. So Paul and Sam are kind of both in a similar conversation here, asking about course rotas or potential course rotas for the PGA Championship. Sam adds that what could the PGA do to find an identity? It seems like obviously the Open has a rota. The U.S. Open has its rota that it's getting into now, seemingly. And, of course, the Masters has always played at Augusta National. So, Mark, I'll start with you. That PGA Championship, is there a way? Could we put together a rota? What could it do to find a little bit of an identity?
I feel like so, because, with the PGA of America now moving to Frisco, Texas, with that incredible facility they've built out there, basically their global home. They've got a couple golf courses out there. The Fields Ranch, there's like an east and west, I think it is. They've had a Champions Tour major already there, I think, first opened. and there's a lot of space. You see, the thing to me as I look through this list of courses, the PGA Championship is a big event, and you need a lot of space around the golf course for all of parking and stuff like that. So I think you can do that. I feel like you got the 2 golf courses there at Fields Ranch that you can use. And then as I was thinking about courses, I was like, again, spacious, cool place to be in a rota, moving around the country some. And I came up with these. TPC Scottsdale, fun golf course, huge golf community, weather's always good. Quail Hollow, you got to keep in there because golf at Quail is tremendous. Something in the old schooler in me wants to go back to Muirfield Village, but it's too intimate around there for the big event that it is. Bethpage Black, it makes a lot of sense in New York with the fans and all the space they have there at the state park. I'm a Georgia boy. Atlanta Athletic Club, they've had 1 PGA, and it was a rousing success. And it's a wonderful golf course. And then Hazeltine. And I feel like you've got kind of, with that list I've got, you got Texas in the middle, you got the West Coast in Scottsdale, you've got the Northeast at Bethpage Black, you got the Southeast at Atlanta Athletic, and then Hazeltine in sort of the Midwest. So you're basically covering the contiguous United States. So yeah, I gave this some thought, and I feel like it is possible. And the more I talk about it, the more I'm like, that would be a pretty cool idea, really.
I didn't even consider the geography. That was okay. Very well done there, Mark. I thought that Patrick, I thought a couple of years ago, hey, maybe the PGA should be the major championship of the people and only go to muni courses, or maybe I could expand that to only go to public courses. Now, some of these are public by definition. They're not easy to get on, but they are public, right? Public by definition. But when you start going through the list of places that you could go, whether it's the Pinehurst, whether it's even the couple of the courses at Pebble Beach or Whistling Straits or Kiowa or TPC Scottsdale or they won't use Sawgrass for the Players Championship, but the idea being Chambers Bay, I guess, would be another one. The idea that, hey, what you're watching on TV, Patrick, you could conceivably go and hit those shots. You could go play that, and that could be kind of the identity of the PGA Championship. Now, there's a lot of other things to consider. I'm not considering at all the geography like Mark has. I'm not considering the fact that some of these are, yes, public, but you might need to book a 3-night stay at the resort or whatever. But I think that identity-wise, that is always something that has stood out to me. I'll even throw in Memorial Park. Memorial Park is a muni that you can play for like $40 and hosts a great championship every single year in Houston. So that to me is always something that I thought the PGA Championship, or not just PGA, something that could be leaned into a little bit more.
So I took a little bit of what you were thinking and a little bit of what Mark was thinking and combined them. I had Kiowa on my list. Anyone can play there. I think off-season rates around 300, so it's not terrible, as Charles Barkley would say. I had Bethpage as well. Frisco, I feel like you just have to go there with the new facility that they've built out. I do like the Scottsdale call, Mark. I had it for a different question that we'll get to, which is also related to the PGA technically.
That's my answer too for that question.
That's a good answer. If we're teasing this question. Yeah.
Whistling Straits is great. And then, that's kind of where I landed. So all those you can play technically, Rick, but I really like the AAC call, Mark. That's not a course that I had thought of. I thought it was terrific when Keegan Bradley won there over Duffner. And then, that's kind of it. I want to go out west. Do you think out west, Chambers Bay? What's going on with the Olympic Club lately? We haven't seen that since Webb. I know that the women had a U.S. Open there. Maybe that can enter the fray again. But those are the courses I had circled.
Here's what I want to say quickly to those. Kiowa, wonderful place, nightmare to get in and out there.
Oh, horrible. Atrocious.
So
take a boat.
I'm like, And then when you talk about Olympics and, like I said, Muirfield Village, Muirfield Village should have major championships. You can argue that the Memorial might almost be a major. But we saw at the PGA Championship year in 2024, when you have like one road in and out there, and then all of a sudden there's a problem, then you have far-reaching issues. So somewhere like an Olympic, where it's like one road to get in and out, you've got San Francisco traffic that we saw here in 2024 with the Scotty Scheffler incident, that things get nasty in the blink of an eye.
Yes, and for some reason, there's a lot of the Royal Montreal is one way in, one way out. It just ends up being a complete disaster sometimes. But yes, something to keep it. Let's go to that question that Patrick teased, which I'm assuming is this one from Tom, which says you can only pick one golf course for all U.S. Ryder Cups and one golf course for all European Ryder Cups, which is kind of a sick idea. So one of the things that I think, there's a lot of things that make the Masters great, but the fact that they play it at the same course creates this history, the knowledge of the golf course, the knowledge of the holes, an instant Rolodex into being able to say, oh, remember all those shots from 16? Remember all those shots on 12? It is kind of an interesting idea to do something like this. Not that I think it'll happen for the Ryder Cup, but Patrick, I think you found a very popular U.S. answer, which would presumably be TPC Scottsdale.
It's the biggest no-brainer ever with that finishing stretch. Just the cool golf shots you would see on 15, 16, and 17 when matches are decided. It's the biggest no-brainer ever if this was somehow going to happen. For the European side, I kind of had a little bit of trouble. Maybe it's a bit of recency bias too, but I loved Le Golf National for the Olympics, and I loved it for the Ryder Cup as well. Yeah. And so those would be my two selections.
Okay, so Patrick nailed my two. So to knock on TPC Scottsdale, Mark said it earlier. You've got a just crazy golf portion of the country where the weather is going to be good all year round. A 250,000 people there. Right, like whatever that number is. I mean, the people that you can, how rowdy would that Ryder Cup be at TPC Scottsdale? And then Le Golf National. The only issue I have with that, Mark, and it's not really an issue, is no, I guess it's not an issue. I mean, it's what, like an hour outside of Paris. It should be easy enough to get to. It holds. There's the French Open is there every year. It's been a great host for Ryder Cups and other events. I'm in on Le Golf National as well.
Yeah, me too. I kind of went romantic when I was trying to pick this stuff, because there's a lot of great venues in the United States. But when I think of U.S. golf, I think of, lush green fairways, long holes, tree line, that sort of stuff. And so looking through former venues, I was like, oh, goodness, because I've been to Hazeltine and I've been to Whistling Straits and all these sorts of ones. And I just feel like Oakland Hills, just north of Detroit, is a no-brainer. It's classic American. The fans over there are going to be great too. And I feel like Detroit's a great sporting town, and having a Ryder Cup there once every couple of years would be great. And then over in Europe, I'm with you guys without even batting an eyelid. I was like Le Golf National, because it's almost right in the heart of Europe as they kind of pick the team. My very, very cool experience at Marco Simone last year makes me want to go back to Italy all of the time. But just Le Golf National in Paris, very close, easy to get in and out there. It was, and you talk about a finish, Patrick. I mean, the closing stretch of holes there. Golly. So yeah, I'd say let's go to Paris and let's go to Detroit, and we're on our way.
Wow, Paris and Detroit, they don't make
the West.
They don't make the same list very often, but in this case, they have. Okay, turn our attention a little bit to some players here, gentlemen, because Aaron asks about bounce back opportunities. Who is most likely to bounce back from a disappointing 2024 and get back on track and kind of exceed some of those expectations for 2025? Patrick, I've got a short list of 3. How about we do it like this? We'll just draft. Patrick can have the first pick. Mark gets the second pick. I'll take the third pick, and we'll see what we come up with.
Okay, I will pick bounce back. So that implies that they went somewhere, presumably down, and have to bounce back to their potential.
You're a smart one, aren't you?
Yeah. So there are a number of names that come to my mind immediately, but someone who I think is going to have a big year and did not win this past season and did not win the season before is Patrick Cantlay.
Ooh.
Yes.
He was not on my list. Okay, so that's a good one.
So he obviously had a solid end to his year. He made the Tour Championship. He contended at the U.S. Open. But someone like Patrick Cantlay, I expect to win a couple times a year, perhaps. He's so well-rounded throughout his game. And you see the way he competes at these team events, the killer that he is down the stretch. And it's like, oh my goodness, how do you not do this more often on the biggest stage? So I'm hoping the U.S. Open really helped him. The President's Cup experience really helped him. And that all the crud going off the course, which he is very much intertwined with, gets pushed in the background a little bit, and he can focus on his game and focus on becoming a major champion in 2025 and bouncing back.
Yeah, he is kind of firmly the best player in the world without a major, right? Now that Xander's got not just one, but two. And yeah, okay, that's a good call. He was not even on my radar, Mark. Where are you headed here?
Yeah, I looked up and down the list of folks, and I saw Cantlay, and I saw Victor Hovland, and I saw Jordan Spieth, and I'm like, yeah. But then I kind of went a little further, to be honest with you, and I'm like, bounce back. A lot of folks think about this just physically and in golf skill. But I'll tell you two guys that have really bounced, or they're in the midst of bouncing back from something way more sinister than bad golf. And that's Daniel Berger, who was out for a while with injury.
Good
and who's
call.
coming back. But to me, I'm really leaning towards Gary Woodland. Oh. He is a guy that's had brain surgery, like 2 short years ago. Just had his first top 10 coming back from injury. He's hooked up with Randy Smith, who's Scotty Scheffler's coach, who I'm still wondering why Jordan Spieth is not going to see. But anyhow, that's an aside. They're just around the corner from each other. So, yeah, I'm going Woodland. He's a winner. He's a major champion. He's healthy. You can see the sort of buoyant. There's some smile on his face. And this guy's coming back from brain surgery. So let's go, Gary.
Wow, this is why you guys are professionals. These are guys that were very good answers. Berger's a great answer. Gary Woodland, yeah, okay, that's interesting. Well, I'll give you the obvious ones. Victor Hovland, who I don't think people realize he did not really play that much in 2024. Like very few tournaments after being the tour champion, right? That's the easy one. I think Jordan Spieth, who Mark mentioned, post surgery. Let's see what happens, right? Let's see what this turns into if he's healthy. And then the one that's a little bit further down the board for me is Nick Taylor. Nick Taylor, if you guys remember, post Phoenix, when he won in Phoenix, I mean, I don't know what his world ranking got to, but I thought so highly of him, and I still do. And the rest of the year, he really struggled. He did not make the President's Cup team. I believe he is much better than he showed over the last 6 months or so. So I think Nick Taylor is a guy that we're going to see a big year out of. Which I'm excited for.
I like that.
Okay, I'll polish off my selections. I'm buying the Ricky Fowler resurgence after his play this fall. He's going to get back maybe into the winner's circle, and then to go with Mark's theme of beware of the injured golfer, another Dallas guy who we have not talked about, William Zalatoris.
Yeah.
Going to get back into major championship contention. His last top 10 was actually the Masters. He got off to that great start to his year. A little bit of a slow start, but once he came to the continental United States, in the mix at Riv, in the mix at the API, also played great at Augusta, but the summer was not kind to him. He withdrew a couple times, some concerns about his back still. So I don't know if he will, but I'm crossing my fingers that he returns to the golfer he was before that back surgery.
I like that. Matt Fitzpatrick. I'll throw Matt Fitzpatrick out there.
That's a good one.
I mean, U.S. Open champion to, I forgot I had a weight in my driver. Bad. Yeah. I mean, just.
He was a total ghost this year.
Total ghost.
Mm.
There's a lot. Dude, golf is hard. Golf is really hard.
No, yeah, well, yes. That's why I'm pining on these things. I'm like, holy cow, how are we going to do this? Because you don't know. Like who? I love Nico Echeverria. He's a wonderful player, but who would have picked him in that field there at Zozo, and that's a short field. Anyhow, here we are.
Yeah, it was 250 to 1. Okay, last question here. This is from Dan, and I don't know if we have a good answer for this, so I'm just going to throw it out and see what happens. So Dan, congratulations. We'll be attending the Open for the first time this year. We are going to Northern Ireland, are we not?
Portrush.
Portrush. Okay, so Dan will be in Northern Ireland. He says he's been to many PGA Tour events, but never overseas. Is there anything different or things that we would advise a first timer? Mark, you're our resident overseas man. What are we thinking here?
Well, there's a lot of different stuff, with culture and stuff like that. So the first thing I'd say to any American is be prepared for service not to be as fast as what you think it should be. Okay, so when you get to the restaurant, don't start getting irate that you don't have your food within 10 minutes. This dinner in the UK or Europe or South Africa is an evening-long event. Yeah. So be prepared for that. But I'd go further than that because, like going to Ireland and then Northern Ireland, it's a magical place. And if time permits and if your job allows it, Dan, go there before the time, a few days before, and don't just make it about golf. Get yourself a rental car, just drive around the place, and just wherever you find yourself, get out there, go in the pub, and just go and be with the people. I mean, I'll leave you with this, Dan. The first time I ever had to go to Northern Ireland for a golf tournament, we flew into Dublin. It sounds like it's miles away, but it wasn't really. It's like a 3-hour drive. And we rent a car, and I'm driving along there, and we eventually get there. And, you're driving through this place that honestly looks like it's a Harry Potter movie, where you got these long green fields, and you got these little hedge roads everywhere. And it's like one-lane road, not two lanes, like one lane, cars that have to pull off for each other. And I take a wrong turn. The next thing I'm in the middle of this lush green, like sheep field on a road. And I'm trying to get to Royal County Down. And I know if I just keep going north, I should be fine because I'll hit the ocean and then I'm there. But it all looks the same. So there's this little old gentleman, no lie, in like tweed jacket and the little Ben Hogan style tweed cap sitting on the little stone wall, pipe in hand, bicycle next to him. And I roll down the window. This is before GPS. Okay. I'm really dating myself on the show today.
Yeah. What was this, like 1980? It sounds like it from the guy.
Trevor was playing in the British Amateur, so that would have been 90, early 90s, 95-ish. Okay. Anyhow, so I pull over, roll down the window, and I'm like, could you help me get to Royal County Down? And he goes, well, yeah. He starts going left, right, and it's close by. I'm like, and then he looks and he laughs. He goes, but you won't find your way there. He goes, follow me. And he pops onto his bicycle and cycles in front of us and sort of to the road that I need to be on. He goes that way, and off I go. And I'm like, this is just so perfect. And so when you go there, look for those sorts of things because it'll make your trip that much better. Really will. And pack well because you're going to experience 4 seasons in a day.
Yes. That was the ghost of old Tom Morris that Mark met that day.
Yeah, that sounded like a leprchaun, or you're doing some sort of trip, and I'm not talking about a trip to Royal County Down.
That's good. I think that Mark is absolutely right. I've never been to Portrush, but the towns that are associated, the golf is ingrained in the communities and the cultures. Find a pub, sit down, introduce yourself to somebody. And what I think, Patrick, is a lot of times at Open Championships or a lot of other of events, the golf course is the main attraction. So a lot of times at PGA Tour events, you sit down, you find a green, you sit down, you plop yourself there for the next couple hours and what? Nope, bring your walking shoes, walk every square inch of that golf course, see everything, look at it from a bunch of different angles, because I think that's the part that he'll remember the most.
And I believe they do some sort of on-site camping or glamping at the Open.
Over my dead body would I do that. I know accommodation's tough, but no chance. I'd rather live in an Airbnb 15 miles away than camp at a golf course.
So Dan, I was getting there. I advise not to do that. It might seem tempting. A couple other things. One, I believe they drive on the left side of the road. Mark, you can fact check me on that. So look both directions when crossing. And then two, given that you're over in Europe, it's kind of a hall pass for being a golf fan, because no matter what you do, people will just say, oh my goodness, the fans over there are so much better than the Americans. So you can be wild. You can yell at Brian Harmon, tell him he doesn't have the stones to win the Open, and it'll be fine, because people out there will just be like, oh, they know what a real good golf shot is. Here in America, they have no idea.
Hey, Rick, I want to come in the heels of that to the whole clamping thing.
I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it right now.
They have it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't be afraid. Use trains. Most golf courses are right next to a train track. Get on the train, man. It's the best, the easiest way to get around.
Google Maps. So ever since Rome, Google Maps has all of, like, the public transportation stuff in there. It is so good. It has been just a godsend. I'm looking at the camping information for 2025. It is called stayattheopen.com. So you can actually do this. They provide the tent and self-inflating air mats. All you need to bring is a sleeping bag. It's a 2-night minimum stay. And you need to have tickets to stay. You can't just show up. You got to have tickets to actually be there. You're in a village. Then you get on a shuttle to go to the championship.
It's like Woodstock.
Yes, they've got like big screens in the clubhouse. They make it all whatever. Here are the rates. Let me see if I can find the rates for this. Here we go. 2-night minimum, Patrick. What do you think it costs to glamp?
You're
night?
on the glamp? I'm on the camp.
It's not glamping, please, man. If you're gonna just bring your sleeping bag, I'm saying 75 quid a night, 150 for both nights.
Okay, well, yes, that's exactly right.
Oh,
it
really?
is.
Wow.
Well,
Mark, for someone who doesn't want to go, you know an awfully lot about it.
So that is Thursday, Friday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night are 75. I'm assuming they use euros there, 75 euros per night.
No, it'll be. It's no. It's Northern Ireland. They'll be using pounds. It's
okay.
Sterling.
75 pounds. It's a little bit cheaper days before the championship, and it's a little bit cheaper. So it's anywhere between $55 and $75 or 75 pounds per night. But yeah, there you go.
Here's one for American viewers and listeners. You don't have to tip. In fact, if you want to be a hero amongst your friends, go to dinner, go to the pub, whatever, leave a tip. You'll be like a hero around the place, because no one does it. It's not expected. It's appreciated over there.
You know what I did one time is I left all I had was American dollars, and I left just like a $5 bill on the table or something, and I was like the king of the castle.
Yeah.
I could have got anything I wanted for Abe Lincoln on the table.
Yeah, that's right. Rick just tossing fivers all over the show. Big dog.
I'm the man. Cool. All right, gents. This was a lot of fun. We are going to do it again on Thursday. Topic TBD. I don't know. You'll just have to wait and see for that. But for now, I'm going to say big thanks to producer Josh, who does all the hard work behind the scenes. That right there, it's Mark Immelman. You can find him at Mark_Immelman, Patrick McDonald at P McDonald CBS, and you can find me at Rick Run Good. This has been The First Cut. We'll catch you next time.